Okay, everybody. Well, I feel compelled to make a follow-up video to the teaching children profanity, or whatever it was called video I just did. I was looking through some of the comments, and the one that got my attention, I appreciate all your comments, the one that got my attention the most was Doug's comment, which was basically a little emoticon that, I guess it's an expression of chagrin, maybe that's a good word for it. And I was actually quite curious to see what you might have to say on this point, Doug, and I wanted to give you guys a little more information about the decision that I made a long time ago to teach Emily profanities in English, and I'd like to try and reinforce that now and give you just a little more information. Okay, here's the thing. Red vines. Let's start with candy. Okay, if you're an American or maybe Canadians are the same, maybe Mexicans are the same as well. I don't know, but they're popular candy in North America are red vines. Those little licorice whips. You know those things? I mean, there's probably very few North Americans who will see this that won't raise their hands if I say, "Do you guys like red vines?" Yay! Japanese people hate red vines. I have never met a Japanese person who can tolerate those things. So early on, remember, Emily is being raised as a mixed cultural child. So she has two worlds that we're trying to prepare her to live in. So knowing that Japanese people hate red vines, I started a campaign early on to make sure that Emily was exposed to red vines from an early age, because I love them, and my brother loves them, and Lyle and I have a long history of sharing red vines, lots of stories of our parents taking us to stores, and we'd buy handfuls of red vines in different flavors, and just have a great time sitting in the back and munching those things together. So Lyle would send me those big tubs of red vines over to from the States, and Emily and I would enjoy them. Now, I got Emily early enough on the red vines that she loves them to this day. So whenever we get red vines from the States, Emily and I sit there and have our little feast. We enjoy red vines so much. She'll try to share them with her friends, her Japanese friends, and none of them can eat them. They think they're just disgusting. Yumiko can't tolerate them. Nobody else except Emily and I can do it. And that's because I got Emily early. I got her acclimated early enough to an American style or North American style candy that it is now part of her repertoire of taste. She has a history with these things that she'll carry through her adulthood. Now, why am I talking about red vines on the topic of profanity? It's the same thing. And I'm going to, before I get to that point just a little further, I'm going to tell you one more anecdote. When Yumiko spent about 10, 12 years of her life in the United States. And I mentioned in the past video that a lot of my friends, we are a rowdy group. It never shows up in my Softy Papa videos, but it's nonetheless the case. John, and especially my brother and I, we would get together around the campfire. We had at our place in Santa Barbara area, we had in the backyard, we had a big old backyard, and we had a campfire back there, fire pit. And we would sit around drinking beers late in the night, cursing up a storm, laughing, having the most fun you could possibly imagine. this is before Emily was born, long before. And using every conceivable curse word you could imagine. That's just our style. And Yumiko, it would just all go over Yumiko's head. Now, it wasn't because of Yumiko's inability with English. She's quite fluent in English. It was because the words that we were using and the way that we were speaking didn't have a visceral meaning to her. It didn't touch her. Now, excuse me, I'm going to use some, I won't use any bad words in this video. I'm going to just use illustrations. If I was to stand up and tell my brother Lyle, you go to hell, you just did it. You blah, 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 blah. Yumiko could hear those words and sense the emotion, but she really couldn't feel it in the same way. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm referring to exposing Emily to the surly side of English. Ooh, I like the way that sounds, the surly side of English. Most people who are taught English as a second language never get that exposure. And as a result, they may be able to speak the language well, but they can't feel the language the same way that a native speaker can feel the language. And this is especially true when coming from a culture like Japan. The Japanese language doesn't have a rich vocabulary of curse words the way that we do in the States. and maybe that's something that they should be quite proud of. But just about the worst thing you'll ever hear one Japanese say to another is, "You're a fool," baka or aho or things like that. And even those words have very little meaning to me because I wasn't raised in the culture, but they don't get much worse than that. So for a native Japanese speaker to wind up in North America and to suddenly be exposed with incredibly colorful vocabulary that we enjoy in that culture, many of us enjoy in that culture, those words have virtually no meaning to them, and they might sense that there is some potency behind them, and especially in the reactions of others, but they won't feel it themselves. And my fear from the earliest was that Emily would one day choose to spend her life in the States, or at least spend some years of her life in the States. And okay, here's the scenario I have in my mind. I have this idea that maybe if Emily chooses to, we'll send her to the United States to go to college, to go to university like Yumiko did. And she'll be in a dormitory, and she'll be laughing it up with friends, and the friends' language will get a little bit colorful, and there'll be more, and you know how it does. When you begin to talk like that, and when you begin to express like that, it strengthens the bond, and the familiarity, and the intimacy, and the tensions increase, and sometimes in a negative, sometimes in a positive way. And if Emily doesn't able to feel that language the way that a native speaker can, then she's not going to feel a part of that group. She's going to feel like an outsider, the way that basically she'll feel like a foreigner. And I want her to be armed with many native capabilities of an American. Now I'm speaking about an American because that's what I'm raising her to be, is an American and a Japanese. She is an American. Emily has dual citizenship. She has 2 passports. She's an American and a Japanese. And one of the things that she needs to do is she needs to know what it means to be an American, what it means to enjoy a red vine, what it means to be able to enjoy Christmas the way that we enjoy it in North America. What it means to be able to, hey, just enjoy a hot dog and a Coke at a ball game, for example, and what it means to feel vulgarities, to feel the potency of a vulgar word, to feel what American style comedy is like, to feel what sarcasm in the United States is like. All of these things. And she will not learn those things in her formal education here in Japan, and she will not learn those things through television necessarily. What she will learn it through is through interaction with her father, for example, and for example with Warmoth. Now you all know that if you watch Warmoth, you all know what he's like. He doesn't hold back. When Warmoth and I are together, that's more like what it's like for my brother and I. And Emily gets that experience and that exposure. Now I would not be showing her to this extent if we were in the United States, because she would be getting it naturally from her peers, from the environment around her. I wouldn't need to do that. She would get it herself, but she won't get that here, so I have to do it for her. And do I take cautions? Yes, especially lately, now that we have more international friends lately. I've actually told Emily that this is language between Papa and Emily, and I've begun to cut it down a little bit more because I know she's getting more exposure to it. So there you go, a long follow-up ramble about some of my reasons why I choose to teach Emily 4-letter words. Hopefully it makes some sense to you. It's not for the sake of profanity's sake alone. It's not for the sake of an adult getting cheap thrills out of watching a little kid say F-U-C-K. It's not any of that. It's so that when she ends up, if she chooses to spend time in her life in the United States, so that she'll feel like she fits in more. That's all. That's the whole thing. Okay. Does it mean I'm doing a good job on all fronts? No. On parenting? No. And especially on teaching her English? No. I've fallen down on a lot. And I need to really get on the ball, especially with her reading and writing. Those are skills that really need to be improved. Okay. I'll sign off from there. Hopefully this is helpful. Thanks for your comments, guys. Bye-bye.